Hey there, welcome to the UkeStuff channel and welcome to this full UkeGuide review of the RockJam Tenor Ukulele from Amazon. The actual number is RJUK-712T, which means tenor, -N, which I think means natural finish. They are available as I record this for $59.99 from Amazon. I bought this for under $30 some time ago. So it has been in my box of instruments to review and I just have not gotten around to it. Well, we're around to it now. So what we're going to do in this video is look at some common categories that I look at with all instruments. Then I'll go over the specifications. Then I'll do a summary and give it a UkeGuide rating out of 5 possible ukuleles. If you want to support the work here on this channel, there are 3 things you can do. First of all, you can like the video. Second, you can subscribe to the channel. And third, you can always buy me a cup of coffee to say thank you for making this content at buymecoffee.com/UkeStuff. I also have some chord melody books there available for download, purchase and download as PDFs and EPUBs. You can also find my chord melody books, which are substantial, at Amazon, in print, Kindle, or on Apple Books as well. All right, let's begin with the general categories of this instrument. So first of all, cost. At $59.99, you get the instrument, and the instrument does have some unique features that I will point out. It has a comfort edge here, which is atypical, not at this price point. It has a cutaway, which is also not at this price point. You will often see strap buttons there, and other than that, there's really nothing else special about the instrument itself other than those couple of things. However, the gig bag is pretty substantial. It's not a bad gig bag at all. It doesn't have a hanging loop, which is like a must for me, a place where you can hang your instrument up. Has no pad on the bottom, which I'd also like to see, but the padding is decent, and it comes with some accessories, like some extra strings that they say are Aquila, polishing cloth, a lesson book that you can use, and then I saved some other things on the inside here. It's a smaller pocket, but you also get a strap, and it is a strap that actually uses the strap buttons for. There have been companies that haven't done that. And a tuner as well. There may be some picks in here too, but they'd be plastic picks, and I would not recommend using them as the instrument does not have a pick guard. So that's a pretty good combination of things too. If you want to buy a bag like that, it's probably going to be starting at the $20 range for a bag like that. Sometimes you can find a better deal, but really you're getting quite a deal at a $59 price, and if it's ever lower than that, like they have been, definitely a good deal. Even if there are some things you have to sort out, but you might need to sort out some things. And we'll talk about that as we go. So the cost is there and the value is exceptional on this instrument. The build quality seems to be overall pretty good. My biggest issue really is there's a buzz on the C string. And I don't know if you could hear that in the demo. I'm going to demonstrate that for you in just a second. It does look like a pretty traditional build. Couple weird choices. If you're going to put in a comfort edge and you're going to put in a cutaway, why wouldn't you do some kind of binding? That's an odd choice. The rosette is fine. I'm not offended by the rosette. It's fine. The RockJam logo is fine. The Martin headstock is fine. But the lack of binding is kind of interesting. But really, it's that buzz on the C string that has the most concern. And I'm going to have to sort that one out. I may have to just replace strings and see if I can find it. But I have a feeling there just might be an unlevel fret. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Buzzes can be extremely hard to find. Occasionally, I'll get an email from someone saying, my ukulele is buzzing. What do I do? And you have to go through and say, is there any loose hardware? Is there anything loose on the inside of the instrument? This tag could cause buzzing. It isn't, though, in this case. But I'll just show you. So here's your C string. Works good there. If I go up to like the 5th fret, that's okay. 4th fret, still okay. 3rd fret, okay. 2nd fret, there's where the buzz is. So somewhere that string is vibrating, and I'll go down one more. It's buzzing at the 1st fret as well. So it's not just, there can be a time in an instrument too where it's built in such a way that it's going to have a buzz at a certain frequency, but when you have 2 frequencies with a buzz, there's something else going on. It's probably a high fret, and I'll just have to take off all the strings and just double check to make sure that all the frets are leveled and smooth. You can buy a fret rocker to see where that's at, and there's a number of ways you can go to solve that, including sanding. You can actually tap down on a fret if you need to. So it'll be findable, it'll be fixable, but that is the negative of buying an inexpensive instrument. And your only recourse really is sending it back to Amazon, which I can't because I bought this long ago. So that is the functional build quality issue. One of the things I like to do in these videos is let you actually see what's going on the inside of the instrument. So what I'm going to do is pull out an endoscope, and we're going to take a look at what it looks like on the inside. All right, we're about to go inside the RockJam with what I call the internal Uke Cam. There's nothing special about it. It's just an endoscope attached to my iPad and using an app, which is available now in iOS, to actually see what's going on in there. And we'll see if there's nothing in here that's vibrating around that would cause it. But as we look back, you can see the vertical braces running down the sides of the instrument. So there's 2 vertical braces. There's a little bit of glue mess. You can see, if I move a little further back, you can see the bridge plate. There were no guide holes drilled with screws that are often used with inexpensive ukuleles to hold the bridge in place while it's drying. But there is, you can see some glue there. Looking at the very base of the instrument, pretty clean, really. The laminate doesn't look excessively cheap. A little bit of a glare from a glue on the side of the instrument. It's been cleaned up, but it's still there, the residue. You can see a little bit of glue on the bottom, and then you can see one of the braces on the back of the instrument. And right now the camera is right above the middle brace on the instrument. And the other thing that's interesting, if you look straight down there at the tail block, is that the screw for the strap button didn't go all the way through the tail block as it does so often. So that's kind of interesting too. All right, let's take a look at the upper bout. Okay, as I look at the upper bout, you can see some extra glue there. You can see another horizontal brace. there is how they put in the cutaway. And those can look atrocious on the inside of an instrument, by the way, but you can see where it's been glued into place and taken care of so it doesn't go anywhere. You will not see that, however, on the bottom of the instrument. Sometimes you do, but if we're looking over here at this side, you can see that you cannot see the comfort edge at all in there. Some companies you can. They clearly didn't go that far through the instrument to put on the comfort edge, but there is definitely the cutaway of the instrument. But otherwise, you've got a neck block and everything looks pretty clean. And that's our quick look at the inside of the RockJam RJUK-712T-N. Well, what about appearance? Well, it looks a little more dressed up than usual because of the cutaway and the comfort edge. Otherwise, you're dealing with a real basic entry-level tenor ukulele made out of laminate sapele. There's nothing really wrong with the quality of sapele. That's just fine. The overall build is, again, pretty good. There's some spots where sometimes you can see some tooling marks, but for an instrument at this price point, it looks pretty attractive. Other than these couple of things, it's pretty plain, but it does have some of those nice features. So it's just above plain in terms of appearance. In terms of availability, you can order one of these from Amazon right now. And in terms of playability, let's talk about a couple things. First of all, it's a standard 35mm nut. It has a very deep C-shaped neck, which you see all the time. You can see sort of the striping on the neck from that light angle that I don't see here, but when it's in that bright light, you can see those stripes in the actual wood grain itself of the neck. So it has kind of sharp fret ends. The action is acceptable. It's just a touch high. So overall, playability is just fine. But again, if you have large hands, you may not like it. So in terms of sound, this is where this instrument sort of lets me down a little bit. You would expect a bigger, rounder sound with a tenor, even with a cutaway. And this one doesn't have a bigger, rounder sound. Sounds like a smaller instrument. It's lacking. It's thin. It's not a bad sounding instrument. So again, if you could get one without a buzzing string, there's nothing wrong with that. As like a starter instrument or for somebody's first instrument, would you say don't buy it? Not on that regard. And yeah, you can play it harder, right? And get more noise out of it, but at a rate that you would normally play, it's thinner than other instruments of this size for sure. So it's not a bad sound, sort of mid-level sort of sound. The volume is generally a little softer than I would expect from a tenor, and the tone it's more bright than I would expect, a little constrained than I would expect on a tenor. Again, not a bad sound, it's not horrible, it's not something where it would make you not want to buy the instrument completely. But if you're going to compare this to any number of other laminates, I think they're going to outdo it in terms of tone. Another thing I do in these videos is to let you see what I'm hearing by playing the instrument into the app Tonal Energy Tuner on my iPad, which will show you what's happening with the harmonic energy as I play the instrument. So I'm going to play an open C chord with, of course, you know, your standard 0-0-0-3 fingering, and let you see what's going on with it. Here we go. Now I am holding it away from my body, farther than I normally would. Let me hold it a little closer to my body and see what happens. Well, that is a surprising analysis because that's not what I am hearing at all. I am hearing a very thin sound. It is showing sort of a more balanced sound, which is interesting to me. There is some sustain, but it just sounds thinner to me. So, I don't know. That isn't going to lie. So maybe it is giving a larger spectrum than I'm hearing, and maybe you're hearing it at home. But for me, it's rather thin sounding. But Tonal Energy Tuner shows sort of more well-rounded sound. In fact, if anything, with a lower reverberating low end. But I'm just not hearing it as much. Is there still sound? Sure. There might even be some overtones hitting? Might be a little bit of that, little of the G overtone hitting, but it's not incredibly great sustain. So maybe its sound is slightly better than I'm hearing, but it definitely has a buzz on the C string. So that for sure I am affirmed of. But as you listen, let your ears make the decision, with the microphone and so forth. Maybe you like that sound, and that's the sound for you, especially at this price point. All right, now that we've gone over the subjective categories or the common categories that I've looked at with all instruments, let's get into the specifications. It is a tenor instrument with a scale length just shorter than 17 inches. It's 16.875 inches from nut to saddle. It has 18 frets with 14 to the body. It does not have side position markers. Now, if you know this channel, you will know that if an instrument doesn't have side position markers, its highest rating possible is 3 out of 5 ukuleles, because I think it's that important for you as a player. So it's sort of unforgivable in 2024 that an instrument doesn't have those. So especially a beginner instrument should have side position markers. Can you draw it on with a Sharpie? Sure. Should you have to do that? No. All right, let's keep going. It's a double bout with a cutaway and a comfort edge. The soundboard back and sides are all laminate sapele. The fretboard appears to be walnut, as does the bridge. The bridge is a slotted bridge. The fretboard is not radius. The nut and saddle appear to be plastic and not bone. And the saddle is not compensated. The finish is satin. No complaints with that finish at all. The overall length is 25.625 inches from tip of the Martin crown to the bottom, not including the strap button. And it weighs 1 pound, 4.6 ounces. Doesn't feel too heavy. It is a little body heavy, but not by much. It's a little body heavy, but not by much. It's pretty well balanced. The tuner types are closed geared tuners, as you can see, silver. The action at the first fret is 0.52 millimeters, so a little bit higher than I like, but not enough for me to do anything with it. And the action at the 12th fret is also a little higher than like 12.80 millimeters. So when I have to take the strings off to figure out what that buzz is, I'm going to sand down the saddle a little bit and bring that down just a touch. My goal at the 12th fret is about 2.65 millimeters, and that will also probably take down the nut just enough with the geometry to be like spot on. The nut width is only 34.74 millimeters, so it's a 35 millimeter nut. The spacing is 9.02 millimeters between each string at the first fret, which calculates to 29.02 millimeters from G to A, which is pretty standard with this sort of nut. If you have larger hands and like a 38 millimeter nut, this is not probably going to be the instrument for you. And the depth of the neck at the 3rd fret is really chunky. It is 23.34 millimeters from the top of the strings to the bottom of the neck. Now, when I bring down the action a little bit, that measurement will be smaller, but it is really a C-shaped baseball-like bat neck, like somebody took a baseball bat and cut off part of it. It's time for all the companies ordering from China to insist that these necks have a slightly different shape than they do. And since they're all CNC'd anyway, at this point, that should be easy enough to do. It's just not being done. And it's time for us to all just stand up and say, please, 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 change the shape of these necks. Now that we've looked at the specifications and we've looked at the general categories, let's summarize the instrument and give it a UkeGuide rating. So this instrument was purchased in 2022 for less than $32. I guess it was 31 something. I might have said less than 30. It was 31 something. I think the actual list price was 29 or something. So these seem to be available frequently at a really, really great price every now and then. It is sort of an odd instrument in that it has a cutaway and a comfort edge with like no other deluxe features, including a lack of side position markers. No idea why that is. There's also on this particular model, it does not mean that yours will have it if you buy one. I've got a buzz on the C string on the first 2 frets. So I'm going to have to go through and see where that's hitting, if it's another fret or something else is happening, Or potentially it's just a weird string. That could happen too. I also think because of the thin sound to me of this instrument, I'll try my standard fluorocarbon strings, probably just Martin M620s, which is Martin's standard clear tenor fluorocarbon string on this instrument, and see if that sounds better to me. And I can follow up with that video too once I figure out what the buzz was and what needed to be fixed. Now, the score of this instrument is limited to 3.0 ukuleles out of 5 just because of the side position markers. But what's its actual score? I think 3.0 is probably right, even with the buzz. You can probably track it down, and for the price of the instrument, that's fair. If you can get one without a buzz, there'd be no reason to avoid this one. It needs minimal setup work. It comes with a really pretty decent kit, and at the price I bought it for, it's a no-brainer. Even at its current price, a couple of these features, the cutaway is nice, the comfort edge is nice. It's not a terrible ukulele in terms of looks or sound. It's just not the greatest, and maybe that's adjustable with a little bit of work and maybe different strings. I don't know. So I would say a 3.0 is where it's at. What if it had side position markers? I don't know. I don't know what rating I would give it. I would have to play one again. I'd also have to find one that doesn't have a buzzing C string to go above that 3.0, and that's just not the case of what I'm working on here. But I wouldn't not recommend it, especially at those prices. Would I pay $100 for this? Or what you'd pay for example, like a Kala or a Hana or a Flight in their entry-level tenors. Would I pay as much? No, I would not pay as much as I would for one of those other instruments like Flight, Ohana, or Kala. Nope. Lanakai. Nope, I would not spend that much on one of these. But at this price point, that's pretty attractive for all that you get. And remember, even at $60, at least 20 of those dollars are caught up in the gig bag itself. You're only paying $40 for a tenor ukulele. And in this world where people like to do projects like to make a cigar box ukulele, for example, when I bought this one, you could take this ukulele, destroy it, and harvest parts from it to make something like a cigar box ukulele cheaper than you can buy those parts themselves from any number of places on the internet, including shipping and so forth. So really quite an amazing deal there. So that is my look at the RockJam Tenor Ukulele. Thanks for joining me. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.